Right, I'm going to bring Michelle back in. I think we've got everything worked out. Michelle, are you there? I do apologize for the earlier debacle.
No worries, Sir Richard, no worries.
How are you doing, and what is it you'd like to talk about?
I'm doing very well, sir. Thank you for asking. I would like to talk about the idea that in my heart and my emotions, I still linger and believe in a creator, whether at the moment I don't know or know not if that creator is deistic or theistic, near or far, close or distant, I know not. However, in my heart and emotion, somewhere lingering in there, there is something that says they or he or she is real and exists, while in my mind says that's all foolishness. It's kind of like I hearken back to Frodo when Boromir tries to take the ring from him, and Frodo says to Boromir, I know what you would say, and it would seem like wisdom, except for the heart of me.
Yeah, great subject, I think, to talk about this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pass it over to Aaron to kick this off, because Aaron himself has deconstructed from religion and will be able to talk from a personal perspective from this, whereas I have never been, I'm never been a believer in God. I don't have this perspective. So I'll kind of go through some of the more technical stuff afterwards, but I'd like to hear what Aaron has to say on this first.
Yeah, Michelle. So why do you think you want to believe? Why do you think why do you think you have that emotional need to believe that there's a creator out there? And what about the creator do you, why do you want to believe that? What's that emotional need about, do you think?
I wouldn't call it so much an emotional need as it started out, I would say, as an emotional need. But that need, as I grew to know or I won't say no, because I don't believe anyone can know something that is unfalsifiable in nature. Mm-hmm. But I will say the perceived concept of my perception of what this being or beings were and how they were interacting or not necessarily totally interacting with my world and with the world at large. And so it was more it wasn't a need so much as what I said before, as it was kind of like a longing for something greater than myself.
So you're longing for something that's greater than yourself. That gives you some kind of what is having that? What does that give you? Does it give you peace? Does it give you contentment? Does it give you purpose? What do you think?
It gives, well, see, I know I want to say I know where you're going with this, and please interrupt me if I'm wrong. Please interrupt me if I'm wrong, but are you taking this down the route that can I not find any of this contentment in atheism maybe?
No, I'm just trying to understand, because I think at the end of the day, your problem is common. Right. I think at the end of the day, we are emotional creatures and we make emotional decisions. And so having this belief having this belief that there's a deist or a theistic God, or wanting there to be one and not be able to let it go, I think that's just kind of human nature. And so I think the only way to really understand it is to understand, okay, what is this giving me? Why does my emotional side want to have want is the best word I can come up with. Want to hold on to this belief or have this belief? Is it bringing me peace? Is it sheltering me somehow? Does it give me purpose? I mean, yeah. So I'm just really trying to understand you, because I think it can be different for different people.
I gotta say a couple of different reasons. One is
Michelle. Let me just interrupt you very quickly. Are you on speakerphone by any chance?
I'm on the call in. I was late. I was kind of sitting back from the computer. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, it's kind of a crackly line. I'm not sure what's causing it, so I was just wondering if it was speakerphone. But if you're not on speakerphone, that's fine. Just go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So what really keeps me in my heart belief, and my believing in my emotions, is that, the God who thinks about me, who loves me, who cares about me, whether that's from afar or near, the idea that I've had dreams where I've actually literally been encompassed by angel wings and seen heaven in my dreams and been a part of that place, soaring in the clouds and the glowing and all kinds of different stuff like that. It's just the imagery of it all, the beauty of the imagery, the beauty of the artistry of that whole story. We take all the bullshit and crime and genocide out of it and just say that God got a big smear campaign in most of the big religions.
Yeah. Yeah. So it sounds like you're kind of you enjoy the idea of it, that it does bring you some kind of sense of belonging, maybe, and something that's bigger than yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of how I define spirituality. Spirituality is this feeling, this desire that we all have to feel connected to something bigger than ourselves. And fortunately or unfortunately, we've grown up in a society or a culture where that something that's bigger than us is God, right? It's typically Christianity, but it can be other things. And so having to let that go means finding something else to be connected to and be something that and a lot of people use nature. They go out and camp or they go hike and they feel connected to the world, to the earth around them. Some people go out and find great friend groups and they just feel that sense of belonging and connection with friend groups. And so, usually if you're, I don't know if your goal is to get rid of this emotion or just understand it, or what's your goal here?
That was my second part of the question that I didn't put in. Am I okay in my position being an agnostic, atheist, and anti-theist? Well, yet somehow in my heart, and I want to also preface that by saying I've suffered a concussion, a seizure disorder, a stroke, and an aneurysm, and a brain bleed, all in a short period of time, maybe 2.5, 3.5 years.
That's a lot.
And so I don't know if it's lucky to be alive. I don't know if it's some of those injuries and conditions that still cause this lingering belief, kind of like maybe a split brain patient with that sort of thing going on. So I don't know if there's any true way around it other than your
Michelle, I would suggest that the reason you have this lingering belief is because you are a human being. And I don't know if you were listening at the top of the show where I recounted the kind of story of this vessel that had crashed on the coast of Australia. And if we took it away from that fragmented, there's little bits of tantalizing information here and there, which suggests that there might have been a colony of Dutch in Australia before we actually knew they were one, who kind of had relationships with the Aboriginal people. And there was a colony there for a number of years. And, there's lots of tantalizing bits that might make that true, but how much more convincing would that be if we'd been brought up in that culture they'd been brought up to have been told that was true? Not just there's this bit of information here that we're trying to piece together, but this is true. Our holidays, our culture, everything else is based on it. I would think that would convince, even with the same amount of evidence that we have, I would think that would convince far, far, far more people that was true than there currently are. And I think that's very, very important. The fact that we're kind of being brought up in a society where we are told that this thing is true, where we're convinced that it's true. And I think, you were talking about the labels you would use and, is this belief consistent with those labels? And what I would say is, for the moment, just kind of forget about the labels. It doesn't matter whether you call yourself or people call you an agnostic atheist or an anti-theist or a theist or a deist. What matters is what you are convinced of. And if you are convinced that a God exists, then you are convinced that a God exists. And let's look at the reasons why you are convinced that a God exists. Or when you get the opportunity, explore yourself the reasons behind why you are convinced you exist. Rather than trying to fit yourself in a neat little box, have a look at the reasoning behind it. There's lots of work being done in psychology and neurology that talk about the reasons people believe things. There's lots of biases that we are prone to, that our brains are prone to, just through the basis of the way it is evolved. And these can be, they were good for us from a survival perspective. They're not so good for us in trying to assess what is true perspective. It's a very hit and miss. Psychology is very interesting because what it does is it shines a light on how our brain, it doesn't work as we tend to think that it works. It's not a computer. Right. Our eyes aren't video cameras. When we see the world, we aren't seeing like we would on a film, a video image of motion, image in motion. What we're taking is lots and lots and lots of little separate snapshots. And then the majority of what we experience in any given moment is our previous experience, cross-referencing those little bits of information that are coming in. And that is how we form opinions about the world. It's not all this stuff is coming in and it's pure and it's perfectly computed. That's not how the brain works. And I think having a look at this would, going in your own time and having a look at this would really, really shed a light on a lot of the reasoning behind why you are convinced that a God might still exist. And I think that is far, far more important than kind of trying to stick yourself in a label and in a box. Sorry, Michelle, go on, please.
I would say in my head, in my thinker, I'm not convinced. I don't see any evidence. But only in my heart, and even in my heart, I'm not convinced.
But what is your heart? There is no. We don't have two separate things. We don't have a head which just does rational stuff and a heart which does emotional, irrational stuff. That's not how we work. That's not, our emotions and our brain and our consciousness are all part of the same system.
Can I share a hypothesis of mine with you, with the show?
You can indeed, and I will not mute you myself when I say that you can, so you can actually hear me. Please go ahead.
Feel free to mute me if you need to. It's your show. Go right ahead. So, I know that that our emotions come from our brains, right? Because like our brains are producing all of those chemicals and neurons and electricity that fire throughout our body and then get processed by our body, and then our body feels those emotions because of those chemicals. But I think sometimes when they go back to the brain, they change and then they send another signal. And those signals can sometimes get bypassed and do a whole bunch of different things and odd things and say, oh, we don't like this, I like that. And then you have cognitive dissonance.
Michelle, I have a very good friend who is also one of the ACA's non-profits called Dr. Richard Godby here, who is an expert on emotions and in fact wrote the book on emotions, which is maybe very useful to kind of inform you on some of this stuff. It's called A Human History of Emotion. And this, what Dr. Richard would say, as soon as I heard you say our brains form emotions, I had Dr. Richard Firth Godby here's head in my voice in my head say, no, it's not our brains that form emotions, it's our whole kind of system that forms emotion. It's the chemicals, it's not just neurons, it's the chemical reactions in our body, it's our gut has a lot to do with it. All of these things have a big part to play in emotion. We are a system, we are not just an isolated brain, and there's an interesting thing in biology which is often overlooked about, and I will shout about this till the ends of the earth, and I will criticize consciousness studies to the ends of the earth, because whenever you get consciousness studies, what you get, and you get these conferences about consciousness studies, what you get is you get a whole load of people in my field, philosophy there, you get a whole load of psychologists there, you get a whole load of neurologists there, and they're all bantering about. But what you don't get is animal biologists at consciousness conferences, and you should. Because there is a thing in biology called the umwelt, and it is the sensory perception of a particular species. It is, so as a human species, we have a particular sensory perception which is related to our biology. An ant or a bat or a dog has a completely different sensory perception because it has a completely different physical makeup. So emotions and consciousness are far more than just the brain doing shit. It's the whole physical makeup. It's the whole body. It's the whole chemical interaction between it. This is a fascinating. You will see me get animated on this because this is something it's something that's in my field and something I love talking about. And it's very, very important that we take all of this into account when we're talking about how we interpret reality and how we kind of assess what might be true and might not be true. And that's why I say to you, it's so important not to say that the head does this and the heart does this, because we are a system.
Right. I guess, yeah, thank you for that, Sir Richard. That just needs to be filled in. Like, I get that the whole body, now I'm understanding more, like the whole body, the gut, the heart, the head, everything, the bones, the marrow, everything. Like, you can feel emotions in different parts of the body at any given moment. And the body is so, like, integral in how we perceive the world.
Yeah, and one of the damaging things that I think religion can do, and Christianity in my experience did to me, was it actually tries to separate your brain from your body. It tries to tell you that we're like these spiritual beings having this physical experience on earth. And so we have to deny our body. We have to deny our emotions, what we're feeling, what we want. And we have to be purely in our heads. I know that my religion did that to me. And so it's really, and I'm literally learning and working on every day, trying to integrate back my brain and my body and understanding what I'm feeling and what I'm thinking, and realizing I'm one big system, one big connected thing. I'm not just this. I heard someone describe once, I'm not just this head that my body moves around from room to room, right? I'm this whole human being.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Well, that makes perfect sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gentlemen,
go ahead.
I don't know if you guys had anything more to say, but I'm all done. I mean, this is my come out public trans day. I mean, I'm coming out publicly. Like Michelle is my trans name, and I have a couple of different lady names that I go by, trans names, but they're all feminine sounding. And so, yeah.
Yeah, well, congratulations on
and thank you for doing that out here with us.
Yeah, we appreciate that very much so, and we hope that our community.
You guys mind?
Sorry, Michelle, go ahead.
Did you mind, Richard, that I did that? Was that okay on your show?
Of course, it's okay. Yeah, look, this community is here for you. And if you want to discuss your journey and your identity, and you want to talk to someone who's had that experience, call back when Dr. Benny's hosting, because Dr. Benny's a trans man. So, Dr. Ben has lived that, and he will be able to kind of talk you. If you're just beginning on this journey, Dr. Ben is. He's been doing this in the public space, talking about this in the public space for a long time, and he might be able to give you some helpful advice. But absolutely, you are welcome to do it on our show. You stand from the rooftops and say it on our show, Michelle, because you are more than welcome to do that, and you are more than welcome to call back anytime and continue discussing your journey through your identity or your journey through your belief with us at any time you want to do.
Thank you, Sir Richard. And was it William who was on?
Aaron.
Oh, Aaron, that was my next guest. Sorry, Aaron, I don't have you.
It's okay, I've been called worse.